So one day I was out in the garage tinkering around. Can't even remember what I was doing. For the day before, I was cleaning out my vehicle. I thought, where do people keep their pens in the car? Under the seats, in the ashtray, in the glove box, behind the seats, under the floor mats, anywhere but handy. And then what I thought was a Sun Visor Pen Clip. So I took a block of wood and I immediately acted on my idea. If you don't act upon the idea, they get buried with other ideas and you never end up doing anything about it. I grabbed the piece of wood, I cut it to the appropriate shape and size that I thought the pen holder should be, and this is what I came out with. Dismantled my garage door opener and glued the garage door opener onto the piece of wood that I had drilled out. And then I got some material that added a little bit of resistance for the writing instruments. It provided enough resistance that it would hold various size pens or pencils. And that's exactly what I wanted, something that wouldn't rattle, loose. Pens won't fall out of this. It doesn't look the greatest because it's rough cut out of wood. I filed this away for a couple of years. Then later on, I decided to do something about it. Because I actually built this prototype, it enabled me to pick up where I left off later on. And I just wasn't ready to develop it at the time. So I looked through the phone book and I found MSB Industries.
Well, I started as a young guy in Italy. I was working in a machine shop environment, and then I immigrated to Canada in 67. 78, when I started a company called MSB, and MSB stands for Marino, Shannon, and Brian, my two kids. And here I am now, approximately 35 years after, still running this machine shop specialized in plastic injection molds and molding.
And I dropped this in front of Marino. I was wondering, can you build me something out of plastic?
I remember correctly, you came with a mock-up that you had made, representing a rough idea of the product.
And he said, sure. I think we could build something out of plastic with this.
I thought right away, it's a gadget. Well, it's one use to hold your pen, but where it could be used, it's in multi-situations, in the car, on your golf bag, wherever you possibly need to store a pen and it's ready for the use of it.
I was blown away with the drawing. It looked futuristic. It was all drawn on a CAD/CAM system.
We needed to represent your idea or improve on the subject. The final design was done as to be what this drawing represents here. So with the technique that we have to build molds, this is the final product, so-called one piece. Not necessary for assembly and not necessary for adding costs. It's a total one-piece structure. We achieved the retention of the different sizes by building this barrel condition where the extreme points are at the minimum sizes, and then of course they act as springs. By you inserting the different size, they would expand and retain on the different size of the pen or pencil.
I looked at the drawings and I was quite intrigued. They looked very futuristic. Then I ordered a prototype mold. I mean, this is obviously the beginning of an invention, but once you move forward and you start tooling up machinery and things get costly, that's really when you start to launch the business. I have to move quickly. I have to, first of all, keep hush-hush about the idea if I want to patent the idea. And I did want to patent it because when I saw what Marino had developed, it boasts a large imprint area on the bottom for corporate advertising. The name is in full view on the Sun Visor. It also holds various size pens or pencils from 1/4 inch diameter up to 1/2 inch diameter, which was very important because you could just basically put 90% of the pens on the market into this. I can put printing, anything you print on a business card, I can actually print on this PenPlacer using a pad printer. So I found out about the Canadian Industrial Innovation Centre in Waterloo, Ontario. And I actually paid $185 for a market analysis, whether this idea would actually fly or not. But they couldn't guarantee anything on paper, but they did say that it was unique in several ways. I was dealing directly with Merino, and I knew that the costs on this were X amount of cents per piece. I knew I had a winner. So I did some research. I actually contacted the ASI in Langhorne, Pennsylvania. They were the largest promotional product association in the United States. And they regulated between the suppliers in the industry and the distributors. I already had a copy of the ASI's media file, which is a Bible of all the promotional items in the United States. I didn't see any item like this. I had packaging designed for retail, and I sent out 13,500 of these to every distributor in the United States to start with, because I figured their market's 100 times our market. I sent out one of these to every distributor in the United States, and then they had a copy of this. They had one of these in their hand, and I printed on here my line name, which was PenPlacer line, and I put the page number on here also of what page I was in the media file, because I took out a 1/3 page ad, and they actually, the distributors, will open their box up that they got in the mail, all free samples. They didn't have to pay a dime for them. The distributor immediately had access, knew where to order these, knew where to find them, knew where they were coming from, knew the pricing, knew the weight, knew how much it was going to cost to ship. I just waited. The phone rang one day. It was potential distributors that had a client that wanted this item. I was doing some quotes or just telling them, you know, answering their phone calls and stuff, and then I started getting orders. And my first order, I remember I was flabbergasted because this is working. It got really exciting because when I started getting repeat orders for this item, I knew that the people that had been purchasing these off the distributors were pretty happy, because whoever the company was that bought them off the distributor gave them to their staff, and their staff liked them so much that they reordered these. So now I had this thing selling like hotcakes in the United States, and then Canadians caught on to it. So after all that hard work, all the brainstorming, all the design, all the packaging, all the headaches with changing the molds, phone calls, meeting with printing companies to print this thing, sending out thousands of samples, meeting with the retail buyers, meeting with distributors, talking with distributors, how the functionality of the product worked, and all these things. All of it finally came together, finally started to sell in both markets, and is still selling today. It's a fabulous product line, and now we have actually tooled up new products, invented new pen holders for the future. Thanks for listening. And remember, place your pen, never look again, and get PenPlacer line today.